husband, Jesse, 31, has been bringing home meals that his female coworker, Nellie, cooks for him. Now, I'm not the best cook, and Jesse's made it clear, but he still eats what I cook every day. What I noticed with Nellie was that she tends to take every opportunity to point out how weak and tasteless my cooking is. Jesse would say nothing except steer the conversation towards something else they both relate to while I'm sitting there wallowing in my misery thinking about what she just said. Also, she once asked what was another chore I was good at, and Jesse said ironing his suits. She, in response, joked about having him send her a suit of his so he could see how good she is at ironing too. I rolled my eyes hard, but at least Jesse agreed that was weird. Last week, Jesse came home with a new meal she cooked. I told him I already cooked dinner and asked what he was going to do with the meal. He told me he was going to eat it for dinner. Not gonna lie, I was getting a bit irritated and he must have noticed because he said that he promised Nellie he'd eat it for dinner and that she asked him to take a pic of the empty plate later to confirm that he'd actually eaten it. I was baffled. Like, completely baffled at this. I told him one thing and one thing only. Told him that if he chose to eat Nellie's meal over the dinner that I cooked, then this would be the last time that I cooked for him. He started moaning about how I was being unfair and putting him in a rough place. He stalled and didn't give a clear answer until I saw him walk past me later when I set the table and prepared for dinner. That's when he put her meal in the microwave. I felt so awful, I almost cried. I then told him from now on I won't cook for him anymore since he made his choice. I obviously pissed him off because he went off on me calling me childish and pathetic to make this about my ego. I got up from my chair and told him that I owed him nothing and that he made his decision and so did I. He snapped and said that this was ridiculous and that Nellie was just doing a nice thing for him while my behavior was disgraceful and disgusting. He then went into the bedroom and I rushed after him, but he shouted, "Leave me the fuck alone." He then proceeded to shut the door and hasn't been speaking to me after that. His mom knew about the argument and called begging me to be more patient and not make any decisions I might regret later. She agreed that Nellie was overstepping and firmly believes that she's the problem and so I shouldn't be hard on her son. But my mother-in-law is incredibly biased, meaning in her eyes, her son is a saint who can do no wrong. So that's that. I feel like I overreacted and really messed it up by pushing him like that. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that I won't cook for him again if he chose to eat his coworker's meal over mine? I'm 46 male, married to a wonderful wife, 33, and we have a young family together, 11, 9, and 3. My wife and I have both had rough lives filled with all kinds of hardships, and our home and family is our pride and purpose. Recently, but unbeknownst to her, it's come under threat. I'll explain as matter-of-factly as possible. Over 20 years ago, in another life, I was a completely different person. I was in circles I shouldn't have been and doing things no one has any business of doing. My wife knows a few details, but has allowed me to leave the past in the past as I've done for her. Anyway, in that former life, I was briefly involved with a young woman a couple years younger than me. She became pregnant. Neither of us were ready to be parents, so I offered her a choice. She made the wrong decision and we haven't spoken since. I don't know how he, 17, learned who I am or how to reach me, but it did. There was a meeting this Monday. I was informed that the young woman I had been involved with was no longer with us after running a battle with oral cancer. I extended my condolences but made it clear that I have a family now which I love very much and can't allow to be disturbed. The meeting predictably went south from there with more venom than I'm proud to admit on both sides. I left and assumed that that would be the end of things. I was wrong. My sister-in-law, 30, contacted me yesterday morning and informed me that my bastard had somehow found her and made its existence known. There was a fight that ended in an ultimatum. Either I tell my wife the full story of this girl and what came of it in the next 3 days, or she's gonna go behind my back. I unblocked its social media account to tell it to leave my family alone. I've since heard about this as well. All I want to do is protect my marriage and my children, and I cannot afford a stupid mistake from my past coming to destroy everything I've worked so hard to build. All it had to do was build its own life and stop worrying about the past. Am I the asshole for protecting my family from a youthful mistake? I fucked up by telling my parents about my inheritance. My 36-year-old sister died 6 months ago from a heart condition. She practically raised me, so it's been pretty difficult to deal with. I'm in my final year of university and I've held every single class this semester. She'd be disappointed, but it is what it is. My sister never married and never had children. I lived with her near campus. She ran her successful side business and I got to help her out occasionally as a paid intern. She worked a lot but not to support us. She wanted to retire by the time she was 40. She would have been done in 4 years and her heart had to fail her first. When she died, her attorney read her will to me. She left everything to me. She had an extremely large amount of money put away for her retirement inside accounts for various activities for her retirement. I was unaware, but she had made several real estate investments so that she could continue living a comfy lifestyle once she retired. She left her 2006 Subaru to me and willed her current house to me as well. She had explained that she wanted to use this house for college housing eventually. This was all extremely overwhelming to hear. She left nothing to my parents, but as they didn't know that she had assets, they willingly paid for the funeral and any other associated costs. My sister was no contact with our parents and I'm very low contact. We are their only 2 children. At the funeral, my parents asked me how I was going to continue going to college without her money. They thought she paid for them. Psych, I have student debt. I told them that I'd continue to take out loans. They asked me about my living arrangements and I shrugged. At the time, I didn't know all the details anyway. Well, 2 weeks ago, I found out that my parents tried to sell my sister's house while I was still living there. They brought a realtor and toured the home and everything. It was all on the camera set up in the home. When I called them and informed them that I'd be calling the police, they explained the situation. I told them that it's my home and it was willed to me. They couldn't sell it. They were confused heavily. I told them to meet me at my attorney's at a set time. My attorney explained the will to my parents. My mother went white as a sheet and my father was grumbling about suing me for his rightful money plus the cost of the funeral. My mother began ugly sobbing, telling the attorney he was wrong. Her daughter would not leave the house to someone like me. The attorney cut the meeting short and now we're preparing for an inevitable lawsuit coming my way. 30 and don't have the best relationship with my husband's mom. Since day one, she tried to make remarks and compare me to her. She then tried to get on my good side and started overly praising everything I do and sometimes even copying me. Like one time when she literally dyed her hair purple just like mine, and when everyone pointed out how ridiculous she looked, she actually blamed me and accused me of trying to make a joke out of her. So anyway, my husband and I took 2 weeks off work to go visit some places out of the country, tourism in other words. The thing is, I was the one who saved up for and arranged a trip. My husband was responsible for booking the tickets. My husband's mom wanted to come along and threw temper tantrums when I said no. She called, texted, sent people to talk to me into letting her come, even threatened to call the police and make some complaint up to get us to stay if she can't come. My husband said that we should take her, but I told him that he was wrong to tell her about the trip in the first place. He gave me an ultimatum. He said he wouldn't go if she can't come. I told him that I'd gladly call his bluff, which made him take back his words and say, fine, I'll tell her to stop it because we won't take her. Things got quieter. Suspiciously quieter. The day of the trip came and we got to the airport at 2 p.m. My husband was walking ahead of me and was looking left and right like he was looking for someone. I asked him, but he didn't respond. He led me to the waiting area and the first thing I saw was his mom standing there with her luggage. I froze in my spot. I felt a cold wave washing over me and I was fuming inside. She and my husband were hugging and that's when I quietly turned and started walking towards the exit. My husband followed me while shouting at me to stop. He tried to stop me, but I told him off in the harshest way possible. He tried to say that I was overreacting and that his mom was there anyway and that I should let it go and not mess his trip up for us. I told him that he and his mom could still go and I was going home. I went home and stopped into my dog's fur for several minutes. Turns out that he booked her ticket without me knowing. An hour later, he came home yelling and raging about how pathetic and spiteful I was to walk out and go home and ruin a trip last minute. I told him he caused this to happen. He said that I was being so hard on his mom, it's ridiculous. I refused to fight anymore, but he kept berating me and then called my family to tell them that the trip was canceled and it was because of me. My family said that I shouldn't have ruined it for myself and should have sucked it up and done my best to enjoy. Did I really overreact? Am I the asshole for walking out of the airport when I saw my husband's mom standing there with her luggage? 2. Am I the asshole for walking out of the airport when I saw my husband's mom standing there with her luggage? So for more details about my situation, I have to admit that my husband's mom favors him over all of his siblings. This affected his relationship with them and me as well. He's never seen an issue with how differently his mom treats him. It bothered me and made me feel uncomfortable. The whole dynamic made me feel uncomfortable. Going low contact has never been an option, like he has to see her or call her every day. Most of his siblings don't talk to him and I 100% believe it's because of his mom's favoritism like I said. He does bear some blame for not seeing how wrong it is until this day. In many instances, I even found myself making excuses for his behavior. I did so subconsciously and I don't know why, but I guess it's because of how much I love him and because I really want to be able to work things out without letting them affect our marriage. Regarding what happened with the trip, he tried to have a talk with me and most of what he said came from a place of blame. Blame towards me. I just couldn't continue with this argument. I told him that I needed space and I would be going to stay with my sister for a while. He didn't take it well. He literally got up from the couch and opened the door and telling me to go right then. In that moment, and seeing how he was still not anywhere near understanding what he had just did, made things perfectly clear to me. I just had pictured years and years of life being lived like that, and I was like, no, I can't do it. Can't take any more of it, especially when he keeps focusing on being right every time. His mom can do no wrong. I'm always the aggressive, crazy, jealous, pathetic overreactor. Everyone's opinions, advice, and concerns were like a spark, like the wake-up call that I really needed. Though I wish it didn't get this far, but what's done is done. Right now I'm staying with my sister. I brought my dog with me as well. He sent me his last message telling me that I'm the one choosing to end what we had together, but I believe it's the other way around. Especially with how he keeps making his mom the victim in this situation. It's become clear that now we keep going in circles with no end in reach, and I'm just so exhausted and overwhelmed. I'm not mad at him and I don't expect him to change, but at least I'm given options to decide what's best for me and my future, even if it's separation and divorce. My husband's in love with an online scammer who he believes is going to marry him. My husband and I are newlyweds, both 21. We're from Ukraine, where it's pretty common to marry at the ages between 18 and 21. We just got married in January. However, in March, my husband said that he wants to take a break from living together because he's depressed and wants some time alone. He said that we both wouldn't date other people and that it would be absolutely disrespectful and wrong if we see other people because he just needs time to feel better. I told him that I agree, and if anything changes and he decides to date others, immediately let me know so that we can divorce because I'm not okay with extramarital stuff. He said yes, he would let me know, but he's not interested. Well, I just found out that he started the break on March 28th and then registered for a dating site on the same day. On April 1st, a girl had already messaged him and they've been talking every day and are in a relationship. I even asked him 2 weeks ago that if he had a girlfriend, I wouldn't be mad, but to tell me the truth so we can divorce. Because he stopped texting me or answering the phone, but he lied. I only found out yesterday because he said that we need to divorce immediately because he's marrying someone else. However, I don't think she is who she says she is. He says that she told him she's 18, working in Poland, but Ukrainian, and will come to Ukraine to be with him, and they'll marry and be together forever because she's perfect. He would never hurt her. Why would someone in Poland look for someone in Ukraine without even being here physically? Why would she go into a war zone? The biggest thing is that he's never heard her voice and she won't send a picture or talk on the video call with him. I'm pretty sure it's a 47-year-old Ukrainian man living in a basement. What hurts the most is that he asked for a break on March 28th and then replaced me immediately like it was nothing. He calls her the exact same nickname he called me from all the nicknames he could have chosen. He writes her the exact same words that he wrote me when I met him online and we were dating. He showed the messages he sent her. He lied since April and only now told me. It's like I'm completely replaceable. What should I do with my husband being in love with an online scammer that he believes is going to marry him? Work as a security guard, and me and my team have traditionally worn a typical police-style uniform when on duty. We recently had a new site manager who wanted to change our image and impose one of those concierge-style uniforms with a blazer and tie, despite all of us objecting as it was uncomfortable, impractical, and we all hate the way it looks. The manager told us the uniform change was coming whether we liked it or not, because one thing he cares about more than anything is presenting the right image. So after we began wearing the new uniform, my team, at my instruction, began to deliberately make ourselves look as gross and slovenly as possible. For example, we would spill food and drink on our uniforms on purpose and not wash them or iron them prior to starting a shift. One guy made a point of wearing his uniform when he went to the gym and worked out before coming on duty, so the uniform was crumbled, drenched in sweat, and reeking. We would drag our blazers through the dirt and mud and wear shirts half untucked. When I needed to sneeze, I would openly and in front of clients sneeze into the tie that I was wearing and loudly blow my nose into it like it was a handkerchief. Also, at the end of every shift when writing our reports, each of us would always litter the report with mentions of how bad the uniform was and how it made the job more difficult. Complaints about our appearances skyrocketed and the manager held an emergency meeting where he screamed at us and called us selfish a-holes. But we refused to be cooperative, so he was eventually let go because he couldn't manage us effectively. Before he left, he told me that I was the biggest piece of crap he ever met for being the ringleader of this whole thing. I don't think I am, but the fact that he was fired and has a family is the thing that makes me consider that maybe I am. Am I the asshole for leading a mutiny against the new uniform policy and getting a guy fired?